Welcome to Midnight Terrors, where spine-chilling tales come to life. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell for notifications. You don't want to miss a single story that'll keep you up at night. We're on a mission to grow, and your support is everything. Share these terrifying stories with your friends, family, and anyone who dares to listen. Thanks for being part of the journey. Let's begin. This story isn't for the faint of heart. I went to a priest for salvation, but he wasn't just a man of God. He was something else entirely, something tied to blood, secrets, and the devil himself. He wore the robe of God, but whispered like the devil. I was lost, desperate for redemption, and when he reached out, I thought I'd found a way out of the darkness. But what this priest promised wasn't salvation. It was something far more sinister. This is the chilling story of how I trusted a man of God and ended up in a nightmare I still can't escape. I was drowning, not in water, but in debt, guilt, and blood I couldn't wash off my hands. One mistake turned into 10. One theft too many, from people who don't send second warnings, the kind of people who shake your hand one day and break your ribs the next. My fridge was empty, my face busted from a beating, rent past due, lights flickering. Every shadow outside looked like someone coming to finish the job. Then I heard whispers from bartenders, street hustlers, even a junkie outside a deli. Go see the priest in Brooklyn. He forgives more than God ever could. A name kept coming up, Father Leone. No one knew much, except that he used to be a Vatican missionary, that he helped people disappear, that he didn't need a Bible to save you, just your name, your sin, and silence. They said he had connections, the kind no one dared question. I was desperate, so I went looking. The church stood like a tombstone on the edge of Brooklyn, forgotten by time, swallowed by weeds and crumbling brick. The stained glass was covered in soot, as if God himself had turned his back. Crows perched on the bell tower, watching like sentinels of something darker. Inside, the air was thick, a mix of old incense and fresh dirt. Not the kind of place where you pray for salvation, the kind where secrets are buried. Out of the shadows he emerged, Father Leone. Not from the altar, but from behind it, as if he didn't serve the light, but something lurking behind it, wearing a collar and something else in his eyes, not holiness, but hunger. He moved like smoke, calm, measured, but the air changed the second he entered. Charismatic, yes, but not warm. His presence was cold, like winter in your bones, his skin pale as wax, his gray eyes piercing, not with kindness but calculation, eyes that didn't look at you, they rid you. Like a predator, he wore the collar of a priest but the aura of a crime boss, like he'd taken confessions from murderers and never told a soul because he made the arrangements himself. He didn't offer a seat, he didn't open a Bible. Instead, he simply asked, "Who hurt you? Who deserves judgment?" Not, "What are your sins?" Not, "Do you seek forgiveness?" No, he wanted names. It wasn't a confession, it was a contract. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out a rosary. Black beads, heavy, worn, but the crucifix was missing, like something had torn it off, or maybe it was never there to begin with. He pressed it into my hand. "Salvation isn't free," he said, voice low and steady. "Mercy costs blood, but don't worry, your debt is no longer yours to carry. I'll take care of it. They'll never bother you again. But there's a price." I nodded, too desperate to care. Then he leaned in and whispered like ash, "Return on the third night and confess everything." Then he turned his back, and just like that, the room got colder. Something told me, if I didn't come back, he'd come looking. And if I lied, God wouldn't be the one I'd have to answer to. Within 48 hours, the people who had haunted me, who beat me, threatened to skin me alive, were simply gone. One was found inside a burned-out car, metal twisted like a scream. Another died in a house fire, though the firefighters said the flames burned from the inside out. And the last one vanished. No trace, no call, just gone, like he'd been erased. I should have felt relief, but instead I felt watched. That black rosary was still in my pocket, and it burned cold against my skin like it had been pulled from a grave. On the third night I returned. The church looked different, worse, older, like it had aged a century since my first visit. The air was still, too still. No wind, no insects, just silence. I stepped inside and immediately I knew something was wrong. The place was ice cold, but there was no air conditioning. The windows were sealed shut. My breath fogged in front of me like I'd stepped into a freezer. Yet the candles on the altar were already lit. Then I heard it, a voice from the dark. The sins of the world are heavy, my son. Time to carry yours. Father Leon was already there, sitting in the shadows of the confessional, motionless but somehow too present, like the darkness wrapped around him, clinging like skin. Kneel. I did. Begin. I opened my mouth to speak, and that's when it started. The candles around the altar flared violently as if hit by wind, but the air was still, too still. Then, Latin, whispers, faint at first, then layered, voices chanting, echoing from the stone walls. But we were alone. I turned to look behind me. No one. Yet the whispers grew louder, and then the walls began to bleed, not red, black. Thick, oil-like sludge dripped from the cracks in the stone, running like veins across the floor. The smell was overwhelming, like sulfur and decay. I looked to Father Leon. Surely he'd stop this, explain this, but he just smiled, calm, knowing, like this was all expected. Confess, my son, or the church will confess for you. The rosary in my pocket grew heavier, like it was anchoring me to the ground. I tried to speak, to confess, but my mouth went dry. The whispers became screams, and for the first time in my life, I wished I had never asked for salvation. This isn't absolution. It's a pact. Father Leon is no ordinary priest. He was excommunicated for performing black sacraments on Mafia victims. He promised them freedom in exchange for eternal service. And now, I was next. A black book is opened. His name is already written inside, in his own handwriting, but he never touched it. You wanted salvation. You just never asked what I was saving you from. The ground trembles. A trapdoor opens under the confessional, lined with skulls and ash. Ghosts of the mob's victims claw their way out, screaming in silence. I try to run, but the church loops back on itself. Every door leads back to Father Leon. Time becomes unstable. Night repeats. His watch stops at 3:33 a.m. He finally throws the rosary into the fire. It screams. For a moment, he wakes up in his apartment, thinks it was a dream, until he sees the mirror, and Father Leon is behind him, grinning. He turns, no one there, but a black rosary sits on his pillow. This time, the crucifix is back, but it's upside down. I never saw him again, but I feel him every night when I try to sleep. They say priests are messengers of God, but what if some of them deliver messages for the other side?